What if the flood wasn't about water? What if the story in the book of Genesis wasn't about rain, but about containment? 8 survivors. Not random villagers, not scattered tribes, 8 controlled genetic sources. That's not survival. That's a reset protocol. What if blood is a signature? They tell you Rh negative is just a mutation, a missing antigen, a harmless deletion. But here's the problem. When an Rh negative mother carries an Rh positive child, her immune system can attack it like a foreign invader. Her body doesn't recognize it, not as self. Think about that. Your blood, the thing that defines biological identity, sometimes rejects other human blood as if it's not fully compatible. What if that incompatibility isn't random? What if it's a fracture line? 15% of Europeans are Rh negative. Why such a stable percentage? Why hasn't it disappeared? Why does it persist? Mutation or inheritance. What if the gods were genetic engineers? The Anunnaki weren't described as spirits. They were described as beings who came from the sky, who created humans to serve them. Modern reinterpretations, pushed heavily by figures like Zecharia Sitchin, say they altered existing hominids. Mainstream academia dismisses it. But here's the uncomfortable part. We already know we're hybrids. Modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA. We are proof that species blending happened. So the real question isn't, could genes be mixed? It's, who did the mixing? What if stardust is a cover story? Carl Sagan said we are made of star stuff. That's scientifically true. Our atoms were forged in stellar explosions. But here's the twist. If life's building blocks travel through space, if amino acids ride on meteorites, if panspermia is even remotely possible, then life on Earth may not be purely Earthborn, which means the alien DNA idea isn't fantasy. It's just scaled differently. Not green men, not UFOs, just seeded biology, directed evolution. What if the flood was a purge? Every major civilization remembers a flood. Not one. All of them. Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, Asia, independent cultures, same core story. Why? Shared trauma doesn't usually produce identical narratives, but systemic resets do. What if humanity reached a threshold once before? Technological, genetic, spiritual, and something or someone wiped the board. Not total extinction, just selective survival. 8 carriers, 8 bloodlines, a genetic firewall. What if the real secret is controlled memory? We're taught myths are metaphors. We're taught gods are symbolic. We're taught ancient texts are primitive storytelling. But what if mythology is redacted history? Simplified so future generations wouldn't recognize the mechanics. Ark becomes boat. Engineering becomes miracle. Gene preservation becomes animal pairs. And bloodlines, they become chosen. What if Rh negative isn't special, but preserved? What if it survived because it was meant to? What if it marks an older template, or an external contribution, or a trait that once mattered more than it does now? And here's the darkest part. If humanity was edited once, what makes you think it isn't being edited again? We already manipulate genes. We already splice DNA. We already experiment with inheritance. The difference between myth and laboratory is only time. So here's the question. What if the flood was a reset? The Ark was a preservation vault. The gods were engineers. Rh blood is a fracture line in our ancestry. And stardust isn't poetry, it's origin. Not supernatural, not fantasy. Just ancient intervention buried under religion. And if that were true, would the evidence look exactly like normal genetics? Or would it look like coincidence? Tell me something. If humanity was version 2.0, would they tell you? Or would they call it a story and let you argue about rain?